Hello, everyone. Welcome to this new webinar. Today, we're here with attorney Ruby Powers from Powers Law Group, and we're going to talk to you about how you can obtain U.S. citizenship through naturalization. So Ruby, she is a board-certified immigration and nationality attorney. She has been licensed since 2008, so a little bit more than 15 years, and she has founded she founded the firm in November of 2009. So Ruby, the word is yours.
Thank you, Maria. We want to talk about this because it's a hot topic. A lot of people are naturalizing this year in advance of the federal election to be able to register to vote and to vote. So let's go over some basics and then go into some more complex things. Let's just let you know that this does not take the place of legal advice, but we wanted to provide general information and just let you know that we do know a lot about this. And if you get stuck, we do help either give you a general strategy call, consultation, or can prep you or go to interview with you wherever you are in your journey on this process. So you need to at least be 18 years old when you apply. You need to have had your green card either 5 years or 3 years. 3 years if you're using the married to a U.S. citizen, or if there was domestic violence basis of in some limited circumstances, you could base it off the 3 years. Now, one thing I will note that I'm not talking much about military. In military, there are certain cases where you can apply a lot sooner. And so there are, and also there's some other situations where if your spouse is working for a U.S. company, that you could apply sooner too. So there are some other exceptions, but we're going to go over the basics. You also need to demonstrate good moral character, have basic knowledge of U.S. history because there's a quiz that usually start at the beginning of every interview, and then show that you've lived the majority of that period of time. So it's either 2 years and a half plus a day in the last 5 years if you're using the 5-year rule, or a year and a half if you're using the 3-year rule. And then you need to live in the state that you're applying from, or the U.S. district, for at least 3 months before that you apply. Now, best practices, make sure that you review all the evidence before deciding whether to apply at all. This is probably the most important thing, because a lot of times people think that they know how this all of everything because they've been a green card holder for a long time. But I will tell you, this is the final step, the final place where USCIS can find out if they ever made a mistake, if ever before, and this could be a very detrimental move. Now, for most people, it's not, but it is very important. I would say at a very minimum, have a consultation with an experienced immigration attorney to make sure that you're eligible and there's no red flags. Please do that. Now, review the prior application denial if there was a denial, and that's something we do, especially if we find out. Review I like to find out how the person got their legal permanent residency to make sure there's no red flags. Sometimes when people apply for citizenship, they find out that they shouldn't have gotten the green card in the first place, and then this becomes a big problem. So I want to make sure that we've clarified that. Now, the other thing to note is that travel history is important to make sure you qualify. Was the status ever abandoned? We might need to do a Freedom of Information Act request. And again, we always check to see if you possibly could have been a U.S. citizen already. It's possible that you could have acquired it through your parents. And so those are things that we double check. And it could have been derived as well. So it could have been acquired at birth, at maybe you were born in wedlock or out of wedlock of your parents, or it could be derived after birth. So that's a little more complex, but we like to screen for those possibilities, because in certain circumstances that could have happened. Another thing is that people need to know is that a child born outside the U.S. automatically becomes a citizen when all the following conditions have been met on or after February 27th, 2001, because they were trying to make sure that a whole bunch of little kids didn't become stateless or have other issues, because there were sometimes people thought that they had automatically passed it on, but they hadn't. So you need to have had at least one parent, including adopted parent, who was a U.S. citizen by birth or through naturalization. They were under 18, is a lawful permanent resident. The child is a lawful permanent resident, and the child residing in the U.S. in legal and physical custody of the U.S. citizen parent. So all of those conditions need to be met. If anything's not met, then it didn't happen. But if they are met, then you can apply for your N-600 and your certificate of citizenship and also your passport. Okay, so the burden is on the applicant to prove everything. So sometimes people are like, I don't have track of all my trips and I don't have this and I don't have that. Well, it's your burden to prove. And so this is a big step. This is a big thing you're asking for. And you need to make sure that you have everything you need to be able to prove it. Now, the travel, okay, and physical and continuous residence, this is a big thing because some people travel a lot. So just remember, it's you need to have been in the US at least half of that time that you're supposed to wait plus a day, or at least, so for if it was 5-year wait, then 2.5 years plus a day. I think it's like 913 days. Yeah, there it is. It's right here. Okay. And then more than a year and a half plus a day if it's based off the 3 years. Now, if you traveled a lot and you don't have that 2.5 years, for example, then you might need to stay put in the US for a little bit longer so that when I say, if you look behind your shoulder, did you live at least in the last 2.5 years plus a day in the last 5 years? And if you could say yes, then that aspect is taken care of. But one thing that's also important to note is that if you are gone for more than an entire year, then that has another impact on your case. And that means that you would need, if you're basing it off the 3-year rule, you'd have to wait 2 years in a day to still qualify again. And if you're basing it under the 5-year, you have to wait 4 years and a day. So that is a misconception because it was a break in the continuous residence if you are gone for more than one entire year, which is why you want to not be gone for more than one entire year, even if you have travel permission to come back to the country. Now, we always explore all criminal matters, possible challenges to good moral character, like not paying taxes, not paying child support, having any crimes, things like that. It's important to review all of that. There's other issues, gambling offense, habitual drunkenness, shoplifting, prostitution, failing to pay taxes, like I mentioned, fraudulent green card activity, false testimony. All of these things can hinder your application. In fact, you not only maybe get denied, but maybe even worse, them trying to take your green card away from you. So that's why you want to have this reviewed before you do anything. Now, also failing to support dependents, like if you're not paying your child support, not to complete probation, parole, if you smuggled, they say aliens like immigrants in, lots of other aspects, jail time, certain jail time. Now, taxes are really important, so you need to make sure that you pay your taxes, do them on time, don't owe. If you do, have a payment plan. So we definitely review taxes to double check that you are consistent. What you say to IRS is what you say to USCIS. Now, there can be some permanent bars that can prevent people from becoming a US citizen. You want to just make sure that you're screened for that to make sure that you don't apply when you have a permanent bar. We talk about prior applications that you might have had and what you said. So if you ever lied about something and you should have kept you from getting your green card, then that could have big consequences. You probably be best not to ever apply for citizenship. Or if you say something misleading in your naturalization application interview, that can bar you for the 3 or 5 years of good moral character. And so that could also happen, which is why you want to be very careful what you say. If you ever made a false claim to citizenship, that can have a huge impact on your case as well. There's certain limited circumstances where you can overcome that, but you want to prevent that. And then in conclusion, the way it would look is that you would either hire an attorney or you do it on your own, submit the application, you get the receipt, you do the biometrics where they might have you reuse the biometrics. And then when you come into the interview, you would do the oath that everything you say is true. So help you God, they say. Then they would do the civics exam. Where you get 6 out of the 10 questions, and then that's sufficient. Then they would have you read and write a sentence in English unless you are exempt from the language rule, which is in some cases you are eligible depending on how long you've had your green card and how old you are. You would review the application, make any edits and approve them. then you would sign and then you would wait for the decision or oath ceremony schedule. If the decision is not favorable, then you can file an N-336, which allows you to appeal. It does have a hefty filing fee and could take a while to get that next interview, but it's something to fight instead of having to wait all over again and applying again. So this is more or less the process. Lots of different considerations when you're preparing to apply. Just wanted to make sure that you knew about this, and if you have any questions, you can reach us out all these different ways, from Facebook to X to Instagram, Twitter. You can also join our newsletter in English and Spanish, and also give us a call at 713-589-2085. If you have questions, email us at contact@rubypowerslaw.com, and also check us out at rubypowerslaw.com. So later in the month, we also have military parole in place and what is a national interest waiver. So we hope you enjoyed this. And again, this doesn't take the place of legal advice, but it is information, and definitely have a consultation to evaluate your specific case. Thanks for watching. Please share with a friend, subscribe to our YouTube, and we'll see you next time.